get things started. Ready? Go!
Hello and welcome to Bounty into Comics. My name is John Trent. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief at Bounty into Comics. Today I got a story about actor Sean Penn, known for his role as Jeff Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Jimmy Markham in Mystic River, where he recently explained why he believes American men have become, quote, wildly feminized. Speaking with British website iNews, Penn told the outlet there has been an absence of male behavior. He went on to state, I am in the club that believes that men in American culture have become wildly feminized. I don't think that being a brute or having insensitivity or disrespect for women is anything to do with masculinity or ever did. But I don't think that in order to be fair to women, we should become them. He would elaborate on those comments in an interview with fellow British website The Independent. First, he reiterated, I think that men have, in my view, become quite feminized. I have these very strong women in my life who do not take masculinity as a sign of oppression towards them. There are a lot of, I think, cowardly genes that lead to people surrendering their genes and putting on a skirt. I agree with Sean Penn to an extent. I do think that men have become quite feminized. A significant portion of them have. That's not to say that all men have become quite feminized. I disagree with him on that general aspect. But I do think there is a significant portion of men that have become feminized. And I think that has a lot more to do with where our culture is in general than it has anything to do with men in general. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of men, a significant portion of men, no longer are selfless. They're not self-sacrificing. They're very greedy, full of pride, selfishness, narcissistic, and those are not masculine traits. Those are the opposite of masculine traits. A masculine man is someone who is selfless. He's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to put others ahead of himself. He's also a virtuous person. He's going to be doing the right thing. He's going to be offering correction to people who are doing the wrong thing and trying to turn them in the right direction. And I don't think we really have a lot of those types of men anymore outside of certain circles. I think on that point, Penn is completely right. I think we have a lot of immoral men leading people astray, leading people away from masculinity, leading people away from virtuous behavior. And then clearly we have a lot of men, especially a lot of men who are politicians, that aren't actually protecting people anymore. Instead, they're putting people at risk with the policies that they're implementing. Instead, they should be protecting people, making sure that the people that they are representing are being protected. And that whether that has to do with crime or anything that's being taught in schools, or anything on that matter, you want to be protecting the people that have been entrusted to you. And instead, I think we're seeing a lot of people are not protecting the people that are entrusted to them and instead are putting them actually at risk with a lot of their policies. With that said, Penn would also explain why he believes that white American men have an entitlement problem. Speaking about his latest film, Flag Day, and his character in the film, The Independent reports that Penn feels that John has something in common with the white American male entitlement that he sees around him in so many today. Penn would explain what he meant, saying, or rather, I should say, in the belief that this American dream that was promised to them entitles them to it, and that is a very hard wiring to correct. I'm not sure why Penn would put a racial aspect to that. I think it's almost sickening why you would do that, but I do agree with him that there is an entitlement problem. I was just talking about that. I do think we have a selfishness problem, a narcissistic problem, where people aren't willing to be selfless, aren't willing to self-sacrifice. But I also think that, like I said, that does come down from a culture perspective where a lot of people were being taught that the American dream is entitled to them when in fact you actually have to work hard for that American dream, and there's a responsibility that comes with trying to obtain that American dream. This isn't the first time Penn has criticized American culture. Back in July 2021, Penn appeared on Conan O'Brien's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, where he talked about the rigid casting decisions Hollywood studios are enacting for certain groups of people. Discussing his performance as Harvey Milk in the 2008 film Milk, Penn said, it brings up an interesting point, another one I think a lot about these days. Today, almost certainly I would not be permitted to be cast in that role. We're living in a time where if you're playing a gay lead character, you'd have to be a gay man or a trans character, and there have been these casting issues. Penn went on to state, it does go back to, again, some of what we were talking about earlier, finding a balance. When you have a period of evolution that certainly has an opportunity for people who have had less opportunities to move forward, that has to be supported. And yet, in this pendulum swing society that we're in, you wonder at some point if only Danish princes can play Hamlet. It is, I believe, too restrictive. People are looking for gotcha moments and to criticize, and it is mostly those on the sidelines, those who are not otherwise getting work, be they white, black, male, female. I think Penn is way off the mark here. However, I do agree with him that I think that Hollywood studios casting is too restrictive. I don't think there's any problem with Scarlett Johansson playing a crossdresser in that Rub and Tug movie, despite critics only wanting a transgender person playing that character. Now that movie is dead and doesn't appear to ever be getting made. But with that said, I also feel like there is a problem with Hollywood where they have no problems changing traditionally white characters to characters that are non-white. Just look at the most recent Batman casting where you have Jeffrey Wright playing traditionally white character and redhead character James Gordon. The upcoming Batgirl film is also going to be having Leslie Grace playing Barbara Gordon. And then you also have Sasha Calle playing Supergirl. So they are clearly restrictive when it comes to certain identity groups being played by those people that identify with those groups. But then on the other hand, they are totally fine with other characters that have that identify with certain identity groups not being played by actors that look like those identity groups are associated with those identity groups. Those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know what you think. My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics.